Hey everyone. So today I did a bit of drone flying after I went to see Liz at the hospital. Um, my new friend Barry contacted me and said he'd like to go out to a place near Newbury where they were fixing some um, power pylons. He says he's been there before, but later he basically cancelled that because of the solar flare activity. Essentially, there's a risk of you know, uh, as I said in an earlier vlog, transmission problems and sort of communications, and basically there was a chance we could have lost our drones. So anyway, I got home this evening, and it was such a nice evening. I just thought, well, I'm going to mess around in the garden. I've got to do some calibration. It turns out on my drones, sort of compass settings and what have you. So I thought I'd do that. And then, as you'll see, just from the back garden of the bunker, I sent up drone number one, and here we have a sweeping vista of the area I live, Hatch Warren in Basingstoke, and the rest of the town. Um, got some nice sort of aerial shots of the bunker, the house, and what have you. And then here we are, 120 meters up. I went. Obviously, a bit more confident to sort of go up to that kind of height now, and then just kind of sweeping on down. Um, so yeah, I got everything set up with drone number one, and as you'll see here, we had a successful landing. So I'm not going to show you all of the footage from drone number one because I put her up a few times, as high as she would go, just to kind of get some nice photos, good panorama, what have you. There's fat little me looking up as drone number one comes into land. I brought it in quite quickly at the end. And then what I thought I'd do was I thought, well, I've set up drone number one to, with all its calibrations and what have you. I thought I'd better set up drone number two, which is the DJI Avata 2, which is the FPV drone. Now, again, I sort of sent her up and down a few times, but essentially, I just want to stress that I'm very much still in beginner mode with this particular drone. So in this particular shot, there's fat little me kind of experimenting with the head tracking. So essentially, in addition to the controls on the remote, if you turn on head tracking, you're able to sort of turn your head up, down, left, right, and essentially the drone will, follow your eye line, which is really cool. So if you're out flying on something and you want to go and look at something, you just move your head and you can fly close to it and look at it. So that's essentially what I'm trying here. Then, as I say, I took it up a few times today, but this is basically just kind of like looking around my house. But there were some children in a garden near me, and I didn't really. And there was a guy sort of looking at the drone, and I was like, oh, I don't really want to be weird. I'm certainly not interested in taking pictures of other people in their gardens. So I saw a lady here, so I immediately sort of ducked down. And essentially, I just thought, well, I'll fly kind of around near my house, kind of get some footage. Um, as I say, because I am in beginner mode, the movement, apart from the turning movement on this, it's not very fast, and and also elevation as well. So I could have got it up to 120 meters like drone number one, but essentially it was going to take an absolute age. So I just kind of hovered around the house a little bit. When I first flew the drone with Alice, there was, obviously getting the sort of depth and distance in the goggles is kind of a bit tricky. But I think I did a lot better with it this time round. So here I'm just kind of messing around near the roof, just trying to get a feel for the sort of the preciseness of the controls, getting it a bit closer to the house and what have you. Um, and also, of course, looking at the readouts that I'm seeing on the display in the sort of heads up, in not heads up, but in the goggles essentially. And then, slowly bringing it back. By this time, I'd actually put away the landing pad and just kind of bringing it down, making sure it's not landing on my bald head, and just kind of putting it down gently, really. And this is just kind of, I say, getting a feel for the controls again, really. And then, because I thought it was a little bit weird, I thought somebody that this guy had been in the garden sort of looking at me, and I thought, well, I don't want to be a nuisance neighbour. So essentially, I went out to the Hatch Warren playing fields. Now, having been out with Barry the other day, and he kind of said, no one's ever sort of confronted him. there was one lady walking her dog when I came here on the edge of the field. Had there been loads of people, obviously I wouldn't have flown this thing, but there was one lady. I made sure she was well out of the way in the corner before I kind of started flying. And here you can kind of see I'm basically getting to grips with the control. Now in the goggles, what you see is like you see a kind of white circle, and I did know this, but I finally sort of realised today. Obviously, aiming the circle is the direction of the drone. So what I was trying to do here was try and kind of skim along the ground at a relatively low level, obviously without hitting anything. So really, that's kind of what I'm doing here. Is I'm just sort of it's quite a big field. This is the field where I crashed drone number one and sort of broke it before I had to get it fixed. So here I'm just kind of getting a feel with the controls properly now. Bit more confident with it because I'm more confident with drone number one. You can see as it gets low, it kind of kicks up, bits of grass and what have you. I think we got to about 0.4 meters off the ground. And essentially it's just a kind of like a balancing act really of keeping the forward motion and sort of keeping the reticle looking sort of up and forward, just to kind of make sure that you're not going to plow into the ground. But you see, the thing is with this drone, there's me again, obviously, is that, it's got the inbuilt propeller guards and they're quite thick. And the speeds I'm kind of going, if I did plow into the ground, I don't think that would be an issue. There's a thing called turtle mode, which allows it to kind of flip over if it lands upside down, but that's disabled in beginner mode. And I'm not yet confident enough to turn off beginner mode. But you can imagine that if you were sort of skimming along the ground at quite a high speed with beginner mode off, then I think this would make for some quite sort of dramatic footage. And of course, it's kind of late evening now, and you can see the sun sort of setting. But I essentially wanted, as I say, this is just me getting a feel for the controls, whizzing it around me. So I'm sat there with the goggles, and I can hear it. I can hear where it is. Of course, if I double tap the goggles, I'll get like a picture-in-picture effect. But in my opinion, the picture-in-picture is the wrong way round. So the picture-in-picture works where it will show me what's immediately around me on the big screen, and then in the top left screen in the corner, it will show me what the drone's seeing. Now, I've yet to look, and I'm hoping there's like a way of swapping that around, because I would find it more beneficial the other way around personally. But anyway, here again, you can see I'm bringing it back in gently. Don't want to hit myself, obviously. That wouldn't be very good. And it's all these flights here. Appreciate this footage might be a bit dull, but I'm just remembering now to put the aerials up so I look more like an insect on here, but avoid any transmission problems. But essentially, I think I was here I was just I think I turned off the head tracking at this point, or either I turned off the drone. So I'm just wondering why it's not working, which is probably what I'm doing here before I land. And again, another flight here. Again, what I've done is the setting I've turned on. There we go. So now the head tracking is on. So you can see as I turn my head left, right, up and down, the drone will actually sort of follow my vision, which is really cool. So I'm now sort of trying the flying with that again. So as I say, the setting I've got turned on, when number one, the drone will automatically record as soon as it takes off, which I think is really cool. And I need to see if there's an option with drone number one to do that as well. It does mean you can't take sort of snap photos without switching off the video, changing the set. Anyway, that's a bit of a faff, but never mind. I almost wish that there were two separate buttons, one for video, one for photo, so you could do them simultaneously, but I guess not. So also I've turned on the ability to actually record footage on the actual in the goggles as well. So the goggles have their own slot for an SD card. So essentially you can record footage from the drone, and you can record footage that you're seeing in the goggles. And you'll see a little bit of that in a minute with something very silly that I did, where I basically have dive bombed myself and added a suitable sound effect from a Ju-87 Stuka, which is my favourite plane of all time, by the way. And here is a lovely sunset. And then just some final sort of footage. This is quite high up. I don't think it was 40 meters maybe, but here I'm kind of demonstrating how swiftly it turns. So this is with the motion controller, and it's really nippy. It turns on a dime, as you can see, and that's even in beginner mode. So I don't know whether it, I assume actually it would go faster in uh non-beginner mode, standard mode, normal mode. I don't know what it's called really, but yeah. I was also having a bit of trouble getting the horizon sort of flat, but maybe that was just my view in the goggles, because it seems to be not so bad. And then essentially here I am, kind of zooming down on myself. Um, Now, I've got this same footage kind of with all the pop ups and information from the goggles. And in a minute, I've done something, as I say, very silly. I've kind of timed it to match the sound effect that I got. But here you're seeing kind of the unaltered footage from the drone. And straight after this, you're going to see something very silly indeed. Um, so, yeah, I hope you've enjoyed watching some of this footage. Um, and I'm probably going to leave it there. And then we'll go on to the silliness straight after this. So hey, yeah, hi. Here's fat little me again at the end of the day. Just a reminder again that for episode 50, I'm going to be doing an AMA, and Ask Me Anything. I don't know when episode 50 is going to be, but bearing in mind I've done 4 episodes this weekend. I mean, that's unusual, right? Because I've did a couple of Doctor Who reviews, but I'm kind of doing 1 episode a day almost. Typically, I won't leave it more than 3 days, and every couple of days. So, this is episode 46. So, yeah, I'm doing an AMA and Ask Me Anything. I got 161 subscribers. Yay! I don't think all of them watch my videos. I think the most views I've ever had are 67. I know I've got a few regular viewers, but yeah, so I'm still contemplating whether or not to do it as a live stream. Don't know how to do that, so don't know how the logistics of that are going to work. But if you've got any questions you want to send me, send them on. Now, it's occurred to me that I've failed to tell people how they can get questions to me. Well, of course, on YouTube, you can write to me. You can put any comments in there with questions. If you know me on Facebook, you can send me a message, or you can ask me on there, or you can email me at... So my email address is AJS... So that's my initials, Andrew John Summersgill, AJS at blah blah blah.co.uk. That's blah with an H. AJS at blah blah blah.co.uk. I promise you that email is real. I've had that domain for at least 25 years. I've been waiting for somebody to offer me millions for it, but they never have. So, there goes my luck. But please head your email AMA or Ask Me Anything. And I will endeavour to answer your questions in episode 50, which may or may not be live. Don't know. Might not get any questions. I'll still do an episode. I'll just say, here's my AMA, and now here's something else. So, yeah, thanks very much for watching, and see you on the next Total Ramblings. If you enjoy what I do here, although I can't think why, please remember to click the like button, smash that subscribe button, and hit the bell icon to be notified whenever I post a new video. You might also want to check out my website, www.worldsbestestpoet.com, if you fancy a laugh.